Well, a blistering start by Team India in the power play. Decent first 10 overs, then slightly lost their way, lost a few wickets. Middle order had an opportunity, didn't quite stay in as long as we expected. And a flurry at the end from a couple of the quick bowlers who have both been putting their hand up as batsmen. And it all added up to a decent total. Whether or not it's imposing or match winning, the next 20 overs will tell. But 184 for 7 runs on the board after deciding to bat first at pretty decent surface at Eden Gardens. Rohit Sharma, the Don of Eden, 56 of 31. Ishan Kishan kept him company for a while, but no real big innings after that. Just lots and lots of cameos all the way down the order. Mit Santner, head and shoulders above all the New Zealand bowlers. Welcome to Cricbuzz Live, halfway through the final of 3 T20 internationals as we assess India's total. How big? Good enough? Match winning? We'll ask all those questions. Ajay Jadeja, Dinesh Karthik join us. Let me come to the prediction man first. Ajay, 183 was your magic number. New Zealand couldn't get to it, even though they were on course. India, well, they were on course for a lot more, but they finally ended up with your score. Happy, or India should have got maybe 15 more, 10 more?
I hope Indian batsmen and the Indian team is disappointed with that score, because after the start that they got, maybe at the start of the game, you'd look at 190 odd, or, around, if you have a good day, 5-10 runs plus minus. That's what you would take it at the start of the game. But I think where they were at the end of the power play, because we had a fabulous power play, 69 for no loss. From there on, I think India would definitely be disappointed with what they ended up with. That screen tells you the story. I mean, the start, that 69 for no loss, and that stage from 21 for 3. I think that really sets you back. And then from there on, you never got what you should have got. Even 11 to 15, you should get more in conditions like this. From 15 to 20, definitely a lot more, especially with two guys who got to about 20 odd. They would probably be disappointed, because those are the guys who are playing for their spots as well. So, more disappointment there. But, what is on board, you've got to be happy with it.
Yeah, DK, have a look at that. 115 for 7 in the back 14 overs is the numbers we're talking about. The two Iyers, when they got together and they were replaced by the two Patels, it was all a name game there. But they were the ones, one of them, they looked good while they were there. One of them had to go on to maybe a 40 or a 50.
Yeah, I think that's when you get to a score of 200. I think both the Iyers will be pretty disappointed, because they've got a start. Generally, as a middle order batsman, it's hard to get a start in T20. But when you've gotten a start, then, especially in the back end, you want to capitalize. But in the same vein, I must admit, the Deepak Chahar and the Harshal Patel would put a massive smile on a Rohit Sharma and a Rahul Dravid's face, because for the bottom bowlers, the lower order, as they call it, to contribute is very, very important. And it would be great to see somebody scoring 18 of 11 and 21 of 8. I think that, they'll heave a big sigh of relief, because sometimes you do need these small contributions. It's very, very important. If they have gotten the score to 184, thanks largely to these two, so-called lower order batters who can definitely hit a ball.
But this is something we've known all along, Ajay. You've been talking about Harshal Patel a lot, having seen him a lot. Of course, we know everything about what he can do with the ball. But if somebody definitely has a second string to their bow, why not exploit it and make sure it can be used as often as possible? Not that you want number 9 to be batting often, but here's a chance for him to be slowly sneaking up to 8, maybe even a regular 7.
It'll all depend on how he approaches, because, if you look at it, I mean, it's, great contribution, as DK said. And he's got the talent. You saw that as well. What you saw was the next 2 balls as well. That is Harshal Patel for you. He's never, that's how I've seen him over the years. He will always take chances with that game. And that's been his style. I mean, he just hit a 6 of Lockie Ferguson. There's still a couple of overs to go. But he doesn't play like that. He thinks like this. He carries on. Very next ball, what he, walked across, wanted to, play it over fine leg. That, that happens. And then next ball, he tries to, get back and try and do things. So he's got the talent, but at the end of the day, I mean, it'll all depend on him, how he looks at the game. And I think if he gets the responsibility, or, if he's stuck with that responsibility, maybe you'll get more out of him, rather than when there are some players, I mean, I believe, some players you got to let them free and say, oh, do what you want. And, it doesn't matter whether you get out or not. You get the best out of certain players. Then there are certain players that you got to, put them in a corner and say, listen, you've got to bail us out from here. You are the player. If you don't play sensibly, we'll be in trouble. Harshal Patel is one of those. I mean, and it's very difficult to, rein in these guys who are these explosive or they try extra things. So it's a call that, the captain will have to take. Does he want to rein him in or does he just let him free? Because consistency is something that he's brought on to his bowling and his slower one. But batting, he's got this explosiveness. But I'm yet to see that consistency. So I won't, start pushing him already up the order. And but he definitely adds to India's batting if he plays as a bowler. And even if he comes in at 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, he's got that skill.
Yeah, probably somebody we've seen, if you talk in context of the IPL, DK, someone like a Pat Cummins. I know it's an international example, but he's someone obviously purely there for his bowling. But more than one occasion we've seen, gets a chance with bat in hand, he can be pretty destructive.
Yes, I think Pat Cummins has been fabulous with the bat for KKR. I think he surprised a lot of us with his ability to hit a few big shots. And, at times I think he surprised himself because for Australia, he hasn't done so much, but in IPL, he really let loose and, showcased his skills as a batter. And Harshal Patel definitely, obviously, I think has the skills to hit some big shots, which obviously it sounds good from an Indian fan point of view. And I'm sure it's great to always see the lower order contributing, and he definitely does have the skills as a batter.
How often, Ajay, would you see in a game where 60,000 people in the stands, high definition cameras, broadcasters, commentators, everyone watching on, nobody noticed Harshal Patel was dismissed until he just sort of snuck out?
Yeah, when he walked away, everybody was thinking whether he's nicked it or he's not nicked it. Very similar to what happened to Hardik Pandya. If you remember this IPL in the second half, I think it was the first game or the second game. Every time these guys, go right back at the end, when you're playing onside, the bat comes at a different angle. So you miss that wicket. But then when somebody bowls it outside the off stump, naturally the bat comes from there. But it's an odd one. It's something that, others can learn from, that if you go that far behind, make sure you're not even trying to play on the offside. Or on the other side, the bowlers have to start thinking now. The guys who go back this far behind trying to pull, if you bowl wide outside off stump, there's no other choice. And it has to be a slower one. Otherwise, it won't come that fast. So when it's a slower one, is when the bats will come like that. I think the broadcasters should not be complaining. They're the ones who we should complain against. Why didn't they catch it?
Yeah, just for the record, maiden T20I innings, the only other person who's done that, got out hit wicket, Hayden Walsh Jr. But that's a bit of trivia. Before the innings starts, DK, Ish Sodhi mentioned, yes, it did get a little bit slower, especially when the ball got older. Lesson for India's bowlers and lesson for New Zealand's batsmen as well when they approach this target.
Yes, I think I assume that it wouldn't get slower, but it's good to see the wickets gotten slower, which will definitely help India's bowling, considering they depend a lot on their cutters. And it'll be obviously good for India to take the game deep and, put as much as possible in the back end of the game. The last 5, they can have to defend 60, 65. I think they'll give themselves a great chance of crossing the line in this game as well.
Ajay, Akshar Patel, obviously it does bowl in the power play, but would you be tempted also to let Yuzi have something in as early as possible, assuming it's getting a little damper by the minute?
I don't think the dampness is going to change much. It's already damp. We saw first over, in fact, when New Zealand bowled, it was damp. Then Sodhi has shown us, Santner has shown us that what you can do with that damp ball. And you're bringing him back. I mean, don't forget, the young man's been out of the side for 6 months. He's making a comeback. When Ashwin came back, you also brought him in slowly. In that first game, he didn't bowl in that power play. So I presume Rohit will do probably the same. He'll wait unless they have 45 for no loss in 4 overs or something. Maybe then he might bring him in. But I have a feeling Rohit will ease him in once that power play is over.
But yeah, DK, power play again key from New Zealand's batting point of view. We know how Guptill and Daryl Mitchell bat, and pretty much more of the same this time around with a proper target in mind.
Yeah, I think it always helps to see a target in mind, as you said, and I think that'll give them the freedom to play their shots. But it's going to be interesting. I think the new ball would obviously be the place where they would want to score as many runs as possible, like India did. As the game goes on, if the ball gets slightly softer, it could get slower. But with Dew coming in, does it make any difference? Well, time will tell, but I think we're in for an absolute cracking game today.
We certainly are. This is 184 is what India managed to put on. First time that they've batted first in this series. They chose to do so after winning the toss, and it's a good little test they've given their batsmen to set a score, and now it's up to the bowlers to defend it in conditions that are damp. But again, like the second game, it's probably been damp for both innings as well, so not too much of an advantage. We'll assess New Zealand's run chase in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox. For now, from all three of us on Cricbuzz Live, we'll see you soon.